Clara was known as the quiet heart of street or a hospital. Everyone called her Nurse Sunshine not because her life was perfect, but because no matter what she carried inside, she still smiled. Her kindness wasn't performative, it was real. When an old man had no one left to visit him, she would sit with him long after her shift ended, holding his hand as he slipped into his final sleep. When frightened children came in crying from injuries, it was Clara who could calm them just by humming softly or handing them a sticker with a gentle touch. She was the kind of soul the world too often forgot to protect, but beneath her calm eyes and gentle hands was a woman forged by pain. Clara had lost her parents in a terrible car crash when she was just 16, leaving her to raise her younger brother Liam alone. She worked through school, gave up college dreams, and chose nursing because it paid the bills and gave her a reason to care again. For years, she held her pain quietly, never letting the weight show because she believed in strength through service, not shouting. But all of that would be tested the moment the new paramedics arrived at their hospital. Jake, the lead, walked like he owned the quarters. Tall, loud, arrogant, he barked orders like a military captain and treated the like his personal kingdom. His two sidekicks, Mike and Brandon, weren't much better. They joked loudly, rolled their eyes at emotional nurses, and scoffed whenever Clara tried to give instructions or offer insight. They saw her softness as weakness and her silence as submission. At first, it started with teasing her, calling her Florence, mocking her gentle tone, brushing past her as if she wasn't even there. But over time, the bullying grew bolder. Jake once knocked the tray from her hands and laughed as she picked it up. Mike once threw a glove at her and told her to stick to the juice boxes. She reported it on CIA quietly to HR, but nothing came of it. No one wanted to question the heroic paramedics who brought in accident victims and played saviors in the newspapers. Clara kept going. Every day she showed up, not because it was easy, but because she had no choice. Liam needed her, the patients needed her, but inside, she was shrinking. She cried quietly in the staff closet. She started eating less. She stopped talking at home. Liam noticed. "You're not okay, Clara," he said one night, sitting beside her with concern. She smiled faintly. "Some people are just loud. It doesn't mean they win." She believed that a broken bar or tried to. Then came that night. Rain pounded the roof of the as-word came Mina school bus crash. Dozens of injured children. Screams. Chaos. Clara moved like a machine, her hands steady even as her heart raced. She held pressure on bleeding wounds, whispered comfort to frightened kids, and organized supplies faster than anyone. Her hair stuck to her forehead from sweat, her gloves sticky with blood, but she kept moving. As she leaned over a boy with a fractured arm, Jake stormed into the shoving past nurses and demanding attention. "Out of the way!" he barked, pushing Clara aside. She slipped. Her shoes skidded on the wet floor, and she fell hard. Her head hit the cold tile. The room froze. Jake scoffed. "Maybe leave the trauma room to the big kids, sweetheart." Laughter. Mike chuckled. Brandon smirked, and no one helped her. Not a single soul. Clara lay there, staring up at the brighter lights, the voices muffled in her spinning head. But what rose in her wasn't humiliation. It was something far deeper, something she hadn't felt in years. Fury. Not rage for revenge, but a deep, molten anger at every time she had been stepped on, silenced, dismissed. At every time she had held in her scream just to keep the peace. Slowly, painfully, she turned her head and spotted a broken wooden chair pushed aside against the wall. Its leg was splintered, likely shattered during the chaos. Clara reached for it, with blood trailing down her temple and her scrubs stained. She pulled herself up using the jagged chair leg. The went silent again. No one moved. No one spoke. Clara stood, holding that chair leg not like a weapon, but like a flag. She looked Jake dead in the eyes, and for the first time, he didn't laugh. He shifted slightly, uncertain. "You push people because you think that makes you strong," Clara said, voice quiet but cutting through the air like thunder. "But real power, a broken bar, is standing back up after people like you try to destroy everything soft in the world." The words landed like strikes. "You want to break people who care because you're scared of what it says about you, that your strength is just noise, not substance." Jake tried to roll his eyes, but the crowd had changed. staff members began stepping closer. Even the doctors were watching now. Clara continued, I didn't fall because I was weak. I fell because you shoved me. But I stood back up because I'm stronger than your ego. And now, there are cameras, witnesses, and I will not let you bury this like all the others. Someone clapped. Then another. Jake's face paled. Security arrived, but no one had to intervene. Jake and his crew were escorted out. By morning, the footage had spread. Staff began speaking up, sharing how they'd been harassed, bullied, or mistreated by the same team. Clara was called brave, but she never asked to be a hero. She just wanted to do her job without being broken for it. News stations picked up the story. A clip of Clara standing with the broken chair leg became symbolic, shared by nurses, teachers, single mothers, and quiet warriors everywhere. She was invited to speak at nursing conferences, interviewed by national outlets, and praised online. But Clara didn't want fame. She wanted peace. She returned to work quietly a week later. But this time, everything was different. When she walked the halls, heads lifted, eyes softened. She was no longer invisible. She was respected. And Liam, watching her from the waiting room one evening, whispered to himself, that's my sister. Clara never hit anyone. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She stood. And that was enough. She proved that kindness is not weakness, that silence is not surrender, and that sometimes, the softest hearts carry the strongest fire. The world will always have bullies, but every time they knock someone down, there's a chance that the person will rise, not just for themselves, but for everyone watching. And when they don't broke and bar, the world changes.